Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into uh, two powerful acronyms that pretty much dominate international high school education:
AT and IB.
Advanced Placement and International Baccalaureate. And if you're listening and, wrestling with school decisions,
Or even just trying to make sense of the educational alphabet soup that other parents are throwing around.
exactly, that feeling of information overload, it can be, well, paralyzing.
It's truly overwhelming. And that's because you're not just comparing two curricula, you're comparing two fundamentally different
And
philosophies.
different strategies for getting into college, right?
Precisely. So our mission today, based on the sources, is to really put AP and IB head to head. We want to clarify the core differences and help you figure out which model might be the right fit.
Great. So let's start with AP. Advanced Placement, it's rooted in the U.S. system, run by the College Board. What's its basic goal?
AP is pretty straightforward. It's designed to let high school students take college-level courses while they're still in high school. The idea is to mirror those first-year university subjects.
And the defining feature, really, is its flexibility, the standalone nature of it all.
That is the critical distinction. AP courses are almost always one-year subjects. You sign up, you do the work, and then you take that big standardized test in May.
So a student can take just one AP class,
Yeah.
or they could load up on, say, 5 of them if they're really ambitious.
Exactly. It offers incredible flexibility.
So in theory, if a student in 11th grade discovers that their intense physics track isn't really their thing, they could switch to political science for 12th grade.
Completely. They can totally change their academic focus without any penalty. There's no multi-year commitment. The system is built for that kind of exploration.
Okay, so let's talk about the gatekeeper then. The AP test itself. That's the part that really connects to the college payoff.
Right. The standardized test is held every May, and it's the single-point assessment. Students pay for the exam, and if they score a 3 or higher out of 5,
Then many U.S. universities will grant them college credit.
that's the immediate tangible reward. It's all about that credit conversion.
And that's a big deal. I mean, a typical bachelor's degree is what, around 120 credits?
It is. So if you walk in with, say, 15 or 18 AP credits, you could skip some of those intro-level courses,
Or even graduate in 3 years instead of 4.
which is a massive saving in both time and money.
But we should flag a really common misconception here, because a lot of people think that stacking up a ton of high AP scores is the main way you get into a good college.
Yes, and we need to be very clear about this. AP has two roles. The first, like we said, is the credit converter. That's about the test score. But the second role is demonstrating rigor on your high school transcript.
Ah, so for the admission decision itself, what matters more is your GPA in the AP course all year long.
Exactly. Taking the course shows you're serious. The test score is almost like the receipt you cash in later for credit. AP is a results-focused system. Did you master the material by test day?
That distinction is so important. Okay, let's pivot. Let's talk about the International Baccalaureate, or IB. Structurally and philosophically, it's kind of the opposite of AP.
It's a different beast entirely. It was developed in Switzerland, and the whole point was to be globally standardized, for families moving between countries.
So it's not really optimized for any single country's university system.
Not at all. It's optimized for global consistency, and it's
Mm.
huge now. It's in thousands of schools in, over 140 countries.
And if AP is the a la carte menu,
Then IB is the highly structured 2-year set menu. That is the perfect analogy.
a 2-year commitment.
Yes, the IB diploma program spans 11th and 12th grade. And once you pick your subjects at the start, you're generally locked in for both years. That flexibility we were just talking about with AP, it's gone.
And part of that structure is this mandatory breadth. You can't just be a math and science whiz. You have to show you're competent across a bunch of different areas.
That's the core of the IB philosophy, this idea of holistic development. Students have to take courses from 6 different groups.
Which are, let's see, language and literature, language acquisition.
Individuals and societies, so social sciences, then sciences, mathematics, and finally the arts.
Though you can swap the arts for another subject, right?
You can, yes.
Right.
But the point is you're covering the major academic fields.
And within those 6 subjects, there are also 2 different levels of rigor, higher level and standard level.
Exactly, HL and SL. This is crucial. You have to take 3 subjects at higher level and 3 at standard level. The HL subjects are much deeper, more teaching hours, and they're usually what you're thinking of majoring in at university. SL is about maintaining that breadth.
It prevents you from just dropping, say, humanities entirely because you want to be an engineer.
Precisely.
But what I find really fascinating, what really shows IB's focus on process and competency,
Yeah.
is the stuff that isn't even a course, the diploma core.
This is where IB really earns its reputation for developing academic maturity. The full diploma requires 3 huge components that go way beyond just memorizing facts for a test.
Tell us about them, because this seems to be the biggest hurdle for a lot of students.
First, you have the extended essay, the EE. It's a 4,000-word independent research paper.
Wow, like a mini thesis.
It basically is. It teaches you research, citation, how to build a sustained argument. Then second, there's theory of knowledge, or TOK.
The philosophy course.
Right. It's all about critical thinking. It asks the question, how do we know what we claim to know? It really forces you to think about thinking.
And the third one?
Is CAS. Creativity, activity, service. This is a practical component. You have to log hours doing things like volunteering, playing a sport, or being involved in the arts.
So if AP is testing for knowledge acquisition, it sounds like IB is testing for core competencies, like research skills, critical thinking, even citizenship.
That's the key difference. The whole system is designed to build students who can handle complex long-term projects. The process is the product.
Let's talk about the practical side then. How is all of this scored, and why does the timing create such a headache for students applying to U.S. universities?
Okay, so each of the 6 subjects is scored from 1 to 7, so that's a max of 42 points. Then the core components, the EE and TOK, can get you up to 3 bonus points.
For a total maximum score of 45.
Right. But here's the problem. The final exams are in May, and the official scores don't come out until July.
Which is months after U.S. college admission decisions have already been made.
Exactly. So U.S. universities have to rely almost entirely on the predicted score.
And that's a score that the student's own high school counselor or teacher provides.
Yes, usually when the application goes in, around October of 12th grade.
So an AP student applies with hard scores on their transcript, but an IB student is applying with a forecast. That must add a lot of pressure.
A huge amount, both on the student to perform and on the counselor to be accurate. It adds this layer of uncertainty to the whole process.
Okay, this brings us right to the strategic comparison, the heart of this deep dive. Which path is better for you? Let's start with academic growth versus just, well, an admissions strategy.
Well, if your number one goal is maximizing deep academic preparation and holistic growth, the IB system is pretty much unmatched. That 2-year structure, the force breadth, and especially the extended essay, it just creates incredible academic maturity.
So IB grads are exceptionally well prepared for university-level research.
They really are.
But what's the trade-off? I mean, doesn't the sheer weight of the 2-year program, the EE-CAS, doesn't that make it harder to do something like intensive sports or other big extracurriculars?
That's a very real trade-off, yes. With AP, because the courses are standalone, you could potentially design a schedule that leaves room for, heavy training or a serious part-time job. IB demands constant integrated work across a broad front. It leaves less room for those highly specialized outside activities.
Let's get down to brass tacks then. GPA management. This seems like a big, often overlooked strategic point.
It's huge. In a typical AP school, the AP courses are optional. So if you choose to take them, you automatically stand out as an advanced student.
And those courses are usually weighted, so they boost your GPA.
Right. It's an optional path to excellence.
Whereas in an IB school, rigor isn't optional, it's the standard.
Exactly. In many IB diploma schools, all the students are taking these tough HL and SL classes. The grade competition is just inherently tougher because your peer group is composed entirely of other highly motivated students.
So it's much harder to stay at the very top of the class GPA-wise.
It can be, yes. You're constantly being measured against a very strong pool.
That's a critical point. AP lets you choose where to shine, while IB demands you shine everywhere, all the time, for 2 straight years.
That's a great way to put it. And it brings us back to flexibility. AP is great for the explorer, the student who's still figuring things out.
While IB is better for comprehensive development. It stops a future engineer from having weak writing skills, for example.
It does. It forces that well-roundedness.
And what about the final piece, the credit conversion? You mentioned AP has a practical edge there.
It generally does, at least in the U.S. Our sources confirm that AP scores are just, easier and more widely accepted for direct credit conversion. It's a very standardized, straightforward system for American universities.
It's not that IB scores aren't recognized.
Not at all, especially HL scores. They're highly respected. But navigating the conversion process can sometimes be a bit more complicated compared to the established AP mechanism.
Before we wrap up with the big picture, we should probably mention the third model, A-levels, the UK system, just for contrast.
Right, because A-level is the extreme on the other end of the spectrum, specialization. Students typically study only 3 or 4 subjects.
But in incredible depth.
Extraordinary depth. It's fantastic for a student who knows 100% that they want to study physics at university. They'll just take math, physics, and further math.
But for a 16-year-old who's still unsure, that sounds incredibly limiting.
It can be paralyzing. It really highlights the spectrum, doesn't it? AP is flexible specialization, IB is mandated breadth, and A-level is intense depth.
You know, connecting all this back to the bigger picture, it feels like the why behind these systems is changing. It's not just about a GPA anymore. There's this global shift towards focusing on process and competencies.
Absolutely. The sources really suggest we're moving past the age where education is just about accumulating knowledge for a final test. The new focus is on core competencies. How do you research? How do you collaborate? How do you think critically?
It's about learning how to learn.
Yes. And the IB model, with things like the EE and TOK, is inherently built around developing those future-focused skills. It's about preparing students for a world where AI can do the routine cognitive tasks.
So the goal is to build adaptable learners, not just knowledgeable students. The curriculum itself is a tool to develop methods for solving complex problems.
That's the core idea.
This has been an incredibly detailed breakdown of 2 really challenging paths. So to summarize for you, the listener, both AP and IB are rigorous, but the best choice really depends on the student's personality and their long-term goals.
When you're making this choice, you should probably ask 3 key questions. First, what country are you most likely to attend university in? The US often prefers AP for credit, while Europe might value IB more. Second, does the student thrive in a structured, comprehensive environment like IB, or do they need the flexibility and choice that AP offers?
And the third question would be, how well can that student manage sustained academic pressure? Because IB is a 2-year marathon of interwoven work. It's a very different kind of challenge than tackling individual AP courses year by year.
Exactly. And let me leave you with one last sort of provocative thought here. The sources mention how Japan has been actively promoting the IB system in its schools.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is, because they weren't doing it just to adopt a new curriculum. They were doing it explicitly to force a fundamental domestic shift away from rote memorization and toward a competency-based, process-focused education.
So they're using the curriculum to change the entire culture of learning.
Precisely. So the question for you is, if entire education systems are changing curricula to change their culture, what fundamental shifts in your own personal learning methods, focusing on critical thinking, process, and research, should you be adopting right now, regardless of what school or curriculum you're in?